Hi everyone, my name is Noelia Castillon, and today I'll be talking about something that affects real lives in very serious ways: false memories and how they can form during police interviews. Memory in legal setting. We tend to think of memory as something stable and reliable, especially when it comes to important life events. In the legal system, memory is often treated like hard evidence, used in eyewitness testimony and especially in confessions. But what happens when those memories are wrong? Why memory isn't perfect? Memory is reconstructed, not a perfect recording. Our brains don't store memories like a video camera. Instead, each memory is a reconstruction based on bits of information, which means it can be incomplete, biased, or altered by new experiences. Every recall alters the memory slightly. When we remember something, we actually rebuilt it. Each time we recall it, small changes could happen, especially if we're exposed to new information or perspectives. People can easily be led to believe in false memories, especially when interviews are stressful or unfair. Emotional states like stress or fear can disrupt memory processing, making people more vulnerable to suggestion and less likely to recall events accurately. These factors are often present in high-pressure situations like police interviews. What are false memories? False memories are inaccurate recollection of events, meaning a person remembers something that either never happened or remembers it differently than it actually did. They can be vivid and detailed even if they never happened. So people may feel very confident and certain about these memories because they seem real and complete in their mind. False memories are often formed through suggestion, repetition, or social pressure. This means that hearing misleading information repeatedly, being asked suggestive questions, or feeling pressure to agree with others can all cause someone to develop memories that aren't true. Shaw and Porter showed that young adults can form rich false memories of committing crimes during adolescence, even without none occurred. Why this matters. Testimonies based on memory are often trusted by juries, even though memory is not always reliable. Innocent people have gone to prison because they or someone else misremembered crucial events. The legal system must recognize that memory can be manipulated and take steps to prevent those errors from leading to injustice. A confession is often seen as one of the strongest pieces of evidence, even though it can be sometimes be based on a distorted or false memory. Interview techniques that lead to false memories. Number one, leading questions. Leading questions, these are questions that subtly suggest a particular answer, which can implant ideas or details that the interviewee did not originally recall. Over time, these suggestions may become incorporated into their memory. Number two, repeated questions. When the same question is asked multiple times, it can make individuals doubt their initial memory and become more likely to change their answers to align with what they think the interviewer wants to hear. Number three, minimization techniques. Interviewers may downplay the seriousness of the act by saying things like, "It's understandable why you do this," which can reduce feelings of guilt or fear, making the person more willing to confess, even falsely. Number four, presentation of false evidence. Interrogators may falsely claim to have physical or eyewitness evidence, pressuring the person to confess. This can lead the interviewee to doubt their own memory and accept the false narrative. High pressure tactics. Techniques such as the bad cop routine creates stress and confusion, which can increase suggestibility and the risk of false memories. Source monitoring errors. This cognitive error occurs when individuals confuse the origin of a memory, mistaking suggested or imagined information for something they actually experienced, leading to false memories and sometimes false confessions. People may begin to believe and recall events they didn't experience, leading to false confessions. 4 types of false confessions. Instrumental coerced. The person knows they are innocent. Repeated exposure to misleading information can lead to confusion about the facts. Like, for example, a teen confesses after 10 hours just to go home, like the Central Park Five. Instrumental voluntary. These don't typically involve memory distortion, but show how psychological or social motives can override the truth. Someone admits guilt to gain fame or shield a loved one. Internalized coerced. This is most directly tied to false memory as the individual begins to genuinely believe they committed the crime due to intense and suggestive questioning. Like, for example, after intense interrogation, a person may start to believe they committed the actual crime. Internalized voluntary. Memory distortion can arise from internal psychological conditions, where the person constructs a false memory from within, believing it to be true without an external pressure. Like, for example, a person with delusions confesses without police pressure. Risk factors for false confessions. Certain people are more vulnerable, like children, people with mental illness, or those who are sleep deprived. Also, long interrogations and isolation can increase the likelihood of false confessions. The brain becomes more suggestible under stress, like, for example, Corey Wise, a 16-year-old member of the Central Park Five, gave a videotape confession after enduring intense police pressure. His statement contained numerous inaccuracies and details that were likely influenced by police suggestion. Although his confession did not align with the actual crime scene evidence, it was still used against him as if it were reliable. I'm gonna briefly introduce the Central Park Five. In 1989, 5 teenage boys, ages 14 to 16, were accused of assaulting and raping a jogger in Central Park, New York City. They were interrogated for up to 30 hours with no lawyers or parents present. After hours of pressure, isolation, and suggestion, each boy gave a confession, many of which contradicted each other and the crime scene evidence. Years later, DNA evidence proved none of them were involved, and the real perpetrator confessed. How their confessions were instrumental coerced. The boys were held and questioned for up to 30 hours, often without food, water, rest, or adult and legal representation. Interrogators lied, saying they had evidence against them. Like, for example, they were telling them that, oh, your friend already confessed, so you should just confess too, creating fear of harsher punishment. Officers use leading questions, suggestions, and promises, like telling them, um, after this, you could go home, or if you tell us exactly what happened, you could go see your mom and dad. The boys began to say what they thought the police wanted to hear to end the interrogation, even when those statements conflicted with the facts and each other. The confessions were inconsistent, missing key crime details, and even implicating people who weren't present. Despite knowing they didn't commit the crime, they gave in to the pressure, showing compliance, not belief. They confessed to escape immediate pain and confusion, not out of guilt or internalized belief. These confessions were used as primary evidence to convict them, even without any physical evidence. Breakdown of Corey Wise's coerced confession. This video that I'm about to show you captures the interrogation of Corey Wise, one of the 5 teenagers wrongfully convicted in the Central Park jogger case. Wise was interrogated for hours alone without a lawyer or parent. He was subjected to intense psychological pressure, including deception, suggestion, and emotional exhaustion. Detectives used leading questions and false promises, suggesting he could go home if he cooperated. He altered his story repeatedly, often looking at officers for cues or approval. His confession includes details fed to him by investigators, not from memory or first-hand experience. Weiss never believed he was guilty, but confessed to escape the stress and confusion of the interrogation. Corey Weiss's case illustrates how coercive and suggestive interview tactics can distort memory, leading to false confessions and the creation of false memories. I'm going to go ahead and play the video at exactly 54 minutes and 17 seconds. Here he states that Raymond was the first to assault the victim, and then later on in the video, he changes his answer to saying Steve and Kevin did it.
Who was the first person to have sex with her?
Probably did. It was Raymond.
Do you remember talking to the detective about who had sex with her?
No.
When you talked to this detective earlier, to Detective Nugent? When you talked to Detective Nugent earlier, did you make a statement to him and tell him that 2 people had sex with her?
Yes.
And did you tell him the names of those people?
Yes.
Did you tell him one of those people was Steve?
Yes.
And do you remember that you told him that one of those people was Kevin?
Yes.
Now you just said it was Raymond.
It was Raymond. It was all 3 of them.
All 3 of them had sex?
Yes.
Who was the first one who had sex with?
First of all, who? It was Steve.
Okay. When he had sex with her, did you see him take his pants off?
Huh?
Did he take his pants off?
Halfway off.
How far down did he take his pants?
His knees.
And did he get on top of her?
Yes.
Did he lay down on top of her?
Yes.
And what did he do when he lay down on top of her?
Yes. He just raped her from there.
Okay, and then
When you say he raped her,
an hour and 33 minutes, he names other suspects while visibly looking at the detectives for guidance.
Completely. I was playing with
When
her.
you say they were raping her,
Huh?
when you say they were raping her, what exactly were they doing?
This time it was fucking. This what they was fucking. Him and Steve and Raymond and me and Kev and Yusuf was playing with her. Like Yusuf had her arms and me and Kev was playing with her.
What were you doing when you were playing with her?
Huh?
What were you doing?
I was playing with her legs.
What were you doing to the legs?
Huh? I was going up and down her legs. I wasn't doing as much as they was doing.
Were you going up to her crotch?
No. I was about to. I said no. I couldn't see.
As you could tell, his story
exactly
is
see myself
really
doing
messy.
that.
He goes
Even though
even going into
I was
detail
up to
about
it,
the
I was
situation,
going to do it.
but he
I
just
could
jumbles
see
up
the
his
expression
whole
on her
words
face that
to create a story for the detectives. This pattern suggests a high degree of suggestibility, likely shaped by leading questions, pressure, and nonverbal cues from the interrogators. Memory distortion. Henkel and Kaufman studied how false confessions affect memory. Their research showed that when people are coerced or pressured during interrogation, they can develop false memories of events they never actually experienced. This happens because of source monitoring errors, a cognitive process where individuals mistake suggested or imagined information for real memories. These errors can cause people to believe in events that never occurred, impacting confessions' reliability. Can better interviewing reduce false confessions? A study by Otgar and colleagues asked a simple but powerful question. Can we prevent false memories during interviews? They looked at how different interview methods affect what people remember, especially children. What they found was that when interviewers used the NICHD protocol, which is a structured, evidence-based method, children were more likely to not report false details. This matters because it shows that memory isn't just fragile, it is also protectable. We can reduce the risk of false confessions by changing how interviews are conducted. What reforms and safeguards can we put in place to protect people, especially vulnerable populations, from these memory errors? Preventing false confessions. Recording interrogations. Full video audio recordings of an interview creates transparency, helps courts and juries assess whether pressure or suggestion occurred, protects both the suspect and law enforcement. Time limits on questioning. Long, drawn-out interviews increase fatigue and suggestibility. Limiting the length of interrogations, especially for minors, reduces the risk of false memory formation. Avoiding suggestive tactics. Prohibiting false evidence, ploys, leading questions, and minimization techniques promotes more accurate, voluntary statements instead of manipulated ones. Legal presence during interviews, especially for minors, ensures the suspect's rights are protected during questioning. For juveniles, legal counsel helps prevent confusion, intimidation, and false confession. The use of trained forensic interviewers. Professionals trained in memory science, child development, and trauma use neutral, open-ended questions to gather accurate information, especially critical when working with children or vulnerable adults. Empirically supported interviewing techniques such as the NICHD protocol significantly reduces the risk of misinformation contaminating witness reports. Details retrieved by means of the NICHD protocol can protect children against later misinformation. This underscores the point that when children are interviewed about possible traumatic experiences, the first interview should ideally and immediately be conducted using the empirically based guidelines, such as the NICHD protocol. This is all the more relative because in many countries, children with an alleged experience of abuse are oftentimes interviewed by many different organizations, including child protective workers, police, and social welfare professionals. In each of these interviews, children might be exposed to misinformation. Remember, memory is malleable. Poor interview methods can create false confessions, especially in high-stress legal settings. Mentally healthy individuals can develop rich, detailed false memories of committing crime they never actually committed, simply through suggestive interview techniques. Interviews need to be careful not to implant false memories. We must reform legal practices to avoid convicting innocent people based on unreliable memories. Protecting the innocent starts with protecting the process. And here are my works cited and resources used to create this presentation. And this concludes my presentation on false memories in legal settings and how interviews lead to false confessions. Thank you for your time.